Alrighty, here I come. Hi. Well, I hope actually, let's just turn this a little bit because it might look like I'm not in the right angle. Seems to be saying, hi, welcome. This is Z or Zahida or Koleka or Zaida, depending, how you feel and what you'd like to call me. I answer to all of that. And with regard to one of my nom de plumes, Z is also the way I see it. It's also Let's Be Frank, and that's the name of my blog or vlog. Let's be frank. Let's talk about it. Let's talk to each other instead of about each other. Basically, just a platform where I verbally talk about things that, verbally, can I do it any other way? But basically a platform where I talk about things, current events, issues that both concern me and I believe everybody else around me as well. Mostly current events, trying to record at least as often as I can in order to stay relevant. And the whole idea about the just Z, if I can tell a little bit of a story, I have so many different identities in terms of my name. Z is one of them. And I remember once picking up someone from the airport, and we were total strangers as a tour guide or as a driver. I would go to the airport, picked up and introduce myself. Zahida seemed to be a little bit, because of the accent, either from my side or from his side, a bit difficult to understand. So I just said, you know what, just call me Z. And again, he couldn't hear properly. He said, what? And I said, no, it's just Z. He said, Z? I said, yeah, just Z. And that was the end of the conversation. The night passed, and the next morning, in a group, we were reintroduced, and somebody else was about to introduce him to me, and they said, I don't know if you've met this young lady. At the time, I was that young. And he said, yeah, this is just Z. Anyway, that's my attempt at joke and at humor. And the jokes, the comedy, and all of that seems to be very relevant in the world, or at least in Twitter sphere at the moment. It appears that our local comedian extraordinaire, Mr. Trevor Noah, has been picked to be the next host of Comedy Central, or at least the Tonight Show by Jon Stewart, to replace Jon Stewart next year. This is a great show, a great platform. It's a sort of a satirical platform that's quite relevant, politically aware, and so forth and so on. And Trevor Noah is all of that. Everyone was, at least in South Africa, was very pleased, and also across the world, that he was going to take over. But not 2 days after the announcement, a storm broke with regards to some old tweets that Trevor has tweeted before, and particularly a little bit of an anti-Semitic and anti-women jokes. His jokes seem to be quite often against Jewish people, against fat women in particularly. And, there's controversy, and there's been a huge backlash across the media from either genuine people, people trolling the internet, and, that are out there to press his buttons. And you'd think that's, a big network like Comedy Central or The Tonight Show would have checked first. And perhaps they have. I'm not saying that they didn't. That there was some controversy or perhaps some, iffy tweets in his past. But you have to ask the question, does it really matter? I mean, and he himself has now responded to this and said things like, I shouldn't be judged on just a few controversial tweets that I sent, because that's not the whole of me, which is true in a sense as well. And I myself am personally conflicted as to how I feel about him now that I know about those jokes. I also didn't know about his anti-Semitic jokes. And you've got to also say, look, does it really affect me? Because I'm not Jewish and I'm not fat, but I am a woman. And should that really matter? Because it's certainly not funny when when it's about you. Am I right? Because if that was a joke about Muslims, if that was a joke about the Prophet Muhammad, if that was a joke about anything that personally affected me, I would take, offense. Now, should I not take offense because it's not about me? And it has me thinking, this is true about so many things. We bet on a certain horse. At this stage is Trevor Noah, and we find out some things about him that we didn't know before. Do you totally disinvest? Or do you just, continue to ride that pony? And for me, I'm a bit conflicted about it, I must say. But as they say, comedy is supposed to be untouchable. Comedy, like satire, and again, so the same goes for the Je suis Charlie campaign then. Like satire and like comedy, there should be a no holds barred, and the freedom of speech should reign supreme in this case. And in this case, the backlash has come from a large Jewish community, and rightly so, and also from some other women who didn't realize how misogynistic, or at least some of his work was. Does his work or his tweets define who he is? And so can he be called a misogynist? And these are interesting questions. They're all relevant. And I must say, I'm a bit conflicted. I'm not sure where I stand on this at the moment, and I'm going to see where I go, because I must tell you, there are certain things where I have, as I said, put my money on a certain horse, and then found out certain things later and decided, you know what, no, this is certainly not for me. And I've stuck with that because I just can't reconcile that person or that, has betrayed me or my beliefs. And if I have to think, two things. Michael Jackson. It's crazy that I even mentioned someone so big, someone whatever the case may be. But apparently my Scorpio trait, and the fact that I am Scorpio, and some of the personality traits of a Scorpio is that they are so intense and they're so, so it's either the, my way or the highway type of thing. And that is true. But as I've gotten older, I've also learned to compromise. And if something hurts you, you cut it off. And for me, that's the truth about Michael Jackson. I was a fan from, since they were the Jackson 5, since Thriller, and just a little bit past Thriller. But as soon as Michael Jackson started cutting on his face and changing essentially who he was, and I realized now, of course, the man was quite sick psychologically. In order, anyone who does that to himself has to be. But the fact that he changed essentially from, being a black young man or black man into practically a white woman, and cutting on his face and denying who he really was, that to me was just, I stopped listening to his music, I stopped following him, I stopped just having any interest in him at all. And it takes one person to spoil it for you, and that's how deeply I felt about that. I don't feel that quite deeply about Trevor, no. I'm not sure if I will, or anything else. But the same can be said for the cricket. Just a week ago, South Africa was in the Cricket World Cup and it played against New Zealand in the semi-final. It was so exciting. But it was the first time that I had started watching cricket again since 1994, I think it was. Or since the, Hansie Cronje South African scandal, or 2000, I think it was, broke out of bribery. And for me, it is, if they could do it once, they can still do it again. And the game and the ethics associated with that at the time was completely tainted. And any or every cricket game that I watch now, I always question, is that real? Was the game thrown? Can you even tell? So when I was watching this Cricket World Cup, it was the first game, the semi-final between South Africa and New Zealand. I was up in the middle of the night. It was the first game that I had watched of a South African cricket team, or any cricket team, for the last 15 years. When I sat with friends of mine looking at the highlights later, they had to tell me who these players was. I knew nobody in the South African cricket team. I knew names that was familiar, with me because of the media, but that was it. And that's exactly how it is. If someone betrays you, if someone, if you find out from someone that who you had a belief in is not true to that belief, or has betrayed you in a way, compromise the ethics of your belief. I'm simply one of those people that just cuts you off completely. And it's the same with Trevor Noah or anything else at the moment. If there is a strong belief in anything, as now I believe this platform, this view, this, for me to talk about things, let's be frank, there's so many things that we need to talk about, so many things that you have to believe in order to move forward. I believe firmly that I can be part of a change. I believe that I can help affect change, but it's not something that I can do alone. We need to work together. We need to talk to each other. We need to move forward. This is just a small way. in one way. I have no idea. I have no subscribers. This video goes into a deep dark black hole on the internet, and I hope people watch it, and that'll be great, because that's the point, of obviously doing it. But at the end of the day, it is about me exercising my demons, so to speak, and just getting it out there, and finding people with like-minded views, finding people that feels the same way about the same things that I do. And in this case, it's about South Africa, it's about us talking to each other, it's about racism, it's about the hate, it's about all of these things that really holds us back to unite as a nation. So I'm trying to do my part. I hope you'll play along. I'll hope you keep watching, and I'll see you on the other side.